Welcome back to the James McGee Show. I am your host. I am James McGee. It is way too cold to be out on the patio this morning. I hope everybody's staying warm. Hope the areas of the country that got a lot of rain, hope you're staying dry. We're doing pretty good here. It's cold, but it's going to be in the 20s today, all day today, but it's going to might get into the 30s, maybe low 40s, but the sun's going to be out and we're going to be just fine. Again, my prayers go to everybody that is experiencing a severe winter storm right now. So one thing that my family has enjoyed doing for years, my mom is Italian, and we have enjoyed making Italian sausage together for years. And that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're doing the wintertime. And it's a recipe that we got from my great uncle, and it's a tradition that we have carried on. And I'll tell you, it's delicious. It's really good. Some of the best Italian sausage you will ever eat. But let me tell you this about sausage making. It's not a pretty sight. A lot of people get grossed out by sausage making. Now, the area that we make the sausage, it's clean. My kitchen's clean. All my equipment, all my sausage making equipment, it's clean. All right. You just tell that up front. But sausage making is pretty dirty. It's just nasty. You're grinding the meat. You're mixing it. It's just not it really grosses some people out. A lot of people, if you really saw how the sausage was made, probably wouldn't eat it, even though it's clean. It's presented to you in a nice link, nice package, and cooked. You know, it's all in the casing. It's all put together. Good morning, Britt. You know, it's all put together, and the sausage is presented for you to cook. But you didn't have to watch how the sausage was made. If you watched how the sausage was made, you might not eat it. Let me tell you what, I compare that to use of force, police use of force. It's like making sausage. We like the end result. We like to sleep in our bed at night. We like peaceful, we like living in a peaceful society. Well, to enjoy the peaceful society and the good night's sleep that we're able to get in most of our areas of the country, is because you got young men and women out there putting their life on the line, making the sausage, using force, police use of force, and it's not pretty. It's ugly. It's not like TV. It's an ugly scene. And so I want to preface that what I'm talking about today is there's been a lot of comparison of the Kyle Rittenhouse with the Alex Pretti, the liberals. And look, there's no comparison. And I'm going to be upfront. I'm not a Kyle Rittenhouse fan. I'll give my opinions about the incident in a minute. But as far as personally, I think that he's this punk kid who had absolutely no business doing what he did. And he went looking for trouble and he found it. Well, that's the main if you want a similarity to Alex Pretti went looking for trouble and he found it. He went out and he didn't just wander across. He didn't just come out the donut shop and he saw this, started filming. He was part of a group that was going around and is still going around obstructing ICE. Well-organized, well-funded group, and I'm glad they're investigating that. But Alex Pretti is not a victim, and Kyle Rittenhouse is not a victim either. So Kyle Rittenhouse was 17 years old, very little training, and he decides to dispatch himself in 2020 to Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was a demonstration of the Jacob Blake was killed by police. Well, he decided to dispatch himself from another state. I mean, he's border state, but from another state, armed with his AR-15, little pudgy self, decides to go to protect property. Nobody asked him to do that. Nobody asked him The police didn't ask him. The property owners didn't ask him. He, with a group of people, they're going to go save the world. And look, I'm not saying their intentions are bad. Look, I'm not saying Alex Pretti's intentions were bad. Here's my point with both of them, and I'll dispel the liberals debate in a second. Here's my point with both of them. You inserted yourself in an issue that was not yours to insert yourself in. Police do not need you. They do not need the extra distractions. They didn't need Kyle Rittenhouse. They damn sure didn't need Alex Pretti standing in the road, blowing whistles, getting in their face. He didn't need that. They didn't need that. And this is what happens. And so I always talk about, and if you follow my show, you hear me talk about all the time, especially when Tom Wells is with us, who's a retired police chief, and we have the same stance. You know, we can look at, and I'm this shooting. I'm really not convinced that it was 100% legit. I think there may have been some mistakes made because of the distractions, the amount of officers. There may have been some miscommunication. It's definitely not. They didn't murder him. They didn't assassinate him. Their intent was not there. But things happen in these ugly, nasty scenes of police use of force that sometimes mistakes happen. And there very well could have been a mistake that did happen. If it is, then they'll deal with it. But what contributes to the mistakes, when there are mistakes, is people like Kyle Rittenhouse inserting themselves into situations they don't belong in, Alex Pretti inserting themselves into situations they don't belong in. So, you know, we always talk about, you know, we can debate how this incident unfolded and how it ended. But what we have to do, and Tom and I, this is what we talk about a lot, it all goes back to the beginning. Let's reverse this back to the beginning. I do understand that the end does not justify the means, but if our purpose is going to be saving lives and for police officers to not use force, then let's go back to the beginning. It always starts, once again, with the Alex Pretti situation. It started with disobeying lawful orders. This is not a protest, what they're doing. You know, this, you know, constitutional right, you don't have a constitutional right to do the things that they are doing. You do not have a constitutional right to blow whistles in their ears. You do not have a constitutional right to obstruct the roadways, to do everything to make it harder for them. And the end result are situations that happened this weekend. You don't have that the Constitution grants you the right to assemble peacefully, hold your sign, say your piece. You don't have a right to follow them around. That's not what the Constitution is giving you the right to do. And the Constitution has been misinterpreted. It has totally been abused, and people are being used by these liberal leaders. But let's go to let's go back to where the comparison was. People like to compare the Kyle Rittenhouse and Alex Pretti, and I'm gonna say it again. I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse should have been doing what he did, but he didn't break the law. When it came down to it, he did illegally possess a weapon, which I don't, know how his parents allowed him to possess that weapon. That's a whole different story. But let's just look at the facts. Kyle Rittenhouse did not break the law, even though he should not, in my opinion, been where he was and doing what he was doing. He was attacked, and he did defend himself. And I think the jury got it right. But let's look at the beginning. He had no business there. What the fuck were you doing there? Nobody needed your little pudgy ass there. Nobody needed you because I'll tell you, police don't need you there. All right. Now I'll cover it in a little bit where police actions are contributing to some of this when some of these incompetent police departments, like in Minneapolis, they contribute to this because they're not taking hold of this scene. They're not controlling. They're letting the rioters control the situation, and that's where the problem is. But what the police do not need is people like Kyle Rittenhouse, because all that does is add something else for them to have to worry about. Somebody else armed that they have no idea who it is, what their training is, what their intent is. So what does that do? Causes another distraction. When you have distractions in law enforcement, people get killed. So that's where I am against Kyle Rittenhouse. I think he's, politically, he's tried to use this, and he's not a hero. He's a young punk who got caught up trying to be a tough guy. And he's obviously not a tough guy. He ran scared, got panicked, rightfully defending himself, but still he shouldn't have been there. Then he gets on stand, cries like a little baby. He's not a tough guy. You know who the tough guys are? The tough guys are the men and women out there on these front lines defending these communities when they have riots. And they damn sure don't need a Kyle Rittenhouse. You know what they also don't need? They don't need an Alex Pretti and the rest of these clowns and the rest of these self-appointed legal observers or whatever they call themselves. They're not legal observers. They are criminals. They are obstructing justice. And they're inserting themselves in situations they have absolutely no business being in. And the end result is tragedy. And it doesn't matter at that point who's right and who's wrong. Lives are lost. Lives are lost. So am I saying that we need to be sheep? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be involved. I'm saying more, that we need to be more involved. But how are you changing anything by these riots and interfering in police work? These other than changing personal lives through tragedy, it's not changing anything. You want to change something? You want to get involved? You want to stop being a sheep? Then start doing your job at the election box. Start doing your job during elections. Start looking at these leaders and really doing your homework on these leaders and casting your vote and campaigning publicly. Use your platform. Use your social media. Stand on the corner with your sign saying, hey, Jacob Fry's a piece of shit. Tim Walz, they're the problem here. And there's other places in the country where these leaders are the problem. So I'm definitely not saying don't get involved, but interfering with hardworking, blue-collar men and women is not the answer. You're not changing a damn thing, and all you're doing is causing tragedy. So stop interfering in these law enforcement operations and go. You don't think these leaders are trying? They're using you as pawns. They're using you as pawns, especially in Minnesota. There's so much. They don't want you looking at the fraud. There's so much fraud, so much corruption going on there. They're using you to distract, and they're getting you killed. So stay the fuck away. You want to get involved? Start really getting involved and looking at follow the money. Take your energy and follow the money. And like I said at the beginning, law enforcement does have a responsibility. And if you look at, I'll give a really good comparison. This is out of control right now because of Minneapolis leadership, because they're allowing people like Alex Pretti and these groups to break the law every single day, because what they're doing is not protected by the Constitution. What they're doing by blocking vehicles, harassing people, police officers, blowing whistles in their ears. There's state laws and federal laws that are covering every single one of these. And they say they don't enforce federal law. That's fine. Well, there's state laws out there being violated every single day when they're obstructing roads, when they're disorderly conduct. State law in Minnesota is disorderly conduct. Over here, it's disturbing the peace. Disorderly conduct, blocking the roadways. Enforce your laws. This is out of control because of the lack of leadership, the local and state leadership in Minnesota, and it happens other places in the country. So in 2016, in my home state, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours from me, a man named Alton Sterling was killed by Baton Rouge police officers. Well, this caused riots, and it also, other police officers were killed. A man came down and started shooting at policemen. It was an absolute big mess. Well, let me tell you what, that incident was handled correctly by law enforcement. It was headed up by the state police and by the Baton Rouge Police Department. I was a part of it because my agency sent a large contingency to Baton Rouge to help with that. I was tasked with putting the operation together and overseeing it. And I'm not saying anything about me because I had a very small part. All I did was provide personnel. The leadership of the state police and the Baton Rouge Police Department, which the colonel at the time was just a good guy when it comes to that, an operational guy, tactical guy, and then the chief of police, who was actually a good friend of mine. They did it right. They let people protest. They let people assemble, but they didn't let people block roadways. They did not let people create the chaos that was created. And that demonstration resulted in some arrests, didn't result in any more deaths. Not one in our deputies that we sent, I think we sent around 30, not one injury. Now, they had some incidents where they had to use force. They had to, they were in the mix. They weren't on a perimeter. They were in the mix of crowd control. Not one injury. Not one lawsuit. Not one complaint on their use of force. So it can be done when leadership takes charge and does it right. That's what is going on right now. And that's why we have the problems that we're having, is because of a lack of leadership, and we're allowing these mobs and these groups to dictate and control what is going on. It's up to law enforcement control. So I'm going to end with this. We're not going to have a Mama Luke of the day. I'm going to use my Mama Luke of the daytime to plead with each and every one of you, stop interfering with law enforcement. Nothing good comes out of it. Nothing positive ever comes out of it. You're not changing the world by interfering with law enforcement. You are not changing any policies. All you're doing is ruining lives. You're ruining your own life, and you ruin the lives of these officers, whether they're the ones that are being killed or they're the ones having to use the force. Their lives are changed forever. You're not changing policy. All these leaders are, they're out there trying to get you to resist and to fight. And people like Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, where are they? You saw Tim Walz the other day give an interview. He was standing behind a 6-foot fence. Tell him to come outside that fence and fight. Tell him to do the fighting. Tell him to strap on a gun and go do the fighting. Quit letting people like him, put a steering wheel in your back and ruin your life. So that's all I have for you today. I will be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Remember, until then, nobody's coming to save you. The world does not give a fuck.